All right, everyone, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about sustainable cities in Brazil. This is the Sustainable Development Goal number 11, and we're going to learn a little bit about it and how it relates to Brazil. So, starting with what keeps a city from becoming sustainable. These are the things that we need to solve in order for cities to be more sustainable. So, the first one is high energy consumption. We use a lot of electricity, and that can be really expensive and keeps the city from being sustainable. There's really bad traffic, which leads to a bunch of other issues that we'll talk about later. Poor waste management, how we deal with waste and trash and garbage and sewage and things like that. Dense population and poor resource management. The big one is this densely population. When we all put people together in these large cities, it's really hard to manage. And there's not a lot of useful space, so that creates most of these issues actually stem from this dense population issue. So going forward, now specifically relating it to Brazil, this graph shows the share of the urban population that were living in the slums. This is only from the year 2000 to 2022. We compare it to the United States. But thankfully, the United States, it's well under 1% of people living in slums, which has been this way for a long time, which is really, really good. And we're really starting to see that drop off over time. And now looking at Brazil, it used to be pretty high. It was almost a third of the population back in 2000. Now we're down and hovering at a consistent about 15%. So we've cut it in more than half, which is pretty good. And it's going to keep getting better over time, which is really good. But it's still a big issue. 15% is still a big issue. So next up is this global IT in Brazil's sustainable cities. So this is some things that Brazil could implement using technology in order to help their cities. One of them are smart grids, making the electricity supply a little bit more efficient. Next up is transport, using, of course, smarter traffic patterns to make cars more efficient, as well as electric vehicles, which help with making the city more sustainable. Next up is resource management, using smarter water transport systems and better electricity usage. And then citizen involvement. This one's the big one, where if you try to plant more plants and more efficient energy use, and you can see trying to make buildings themselves more green. You're seeing this a lot, especially in places like California and New York, making the landscape a little more green and making a green-friendly business environment. So next up are just some general solutions to help cities become more sustainable. The first one is encourage use of public transit. This includes walking and cycling and riding buses and things like that. So things that aren't just a car commute. Again, that traffic really is a big issue. Promoting energy efficient architecture and green cities. This is the big one, these green cities where you see buildings with a lot of plants on them. This is the energy efficient architecture where not only it makes it cooler so you don't have to use as much energy, but it just looks nicer and it produces more oxygen, which is really nice. It cleans the air. Next up is add more parks with wildlife. Sort of like Central Park in New York. If you add more parks around the area, especially ones with wildlife, you're going to become a more sustainable city, and you're going to spread things out a little bit more, which is big. Then you can also make roads more efficient for less traffic, and then you can enable water conservation technologies and integrate smart grids and IoT devices. So these are some of the solutions, and that's about all I have for you. So thank you for listening. I hope you learned something about the SDGs in Brazil.